Welcome, everybody. This is Chris Vermeulen from thetechnicaltraders.com with your Strategic Wealth Preservation Quarterly Report. Now, I want to kind of touch on where the stock market, the economy may be within the high level cycles. And once we touch on those, then we're going to gravitate over to some quarterly charts of gold and silver, give you a pretty good view of where we think things are going over the next year or three. So let's start off with the stock market cycles. Now, more or less, I think we've been having this euphoric phase in 2020 where we saw everyone, millions, tens of millions of new traders and investors around the world pile into the stock market after COVID, driving prices up. And now the market has been correcting, and we're in what I think is a complacency stage. A lot of people still think this market is going to go a whole lot higher. They're buying the dip, but the reality is there's a lot of things coming together telling us that the stock market is very close to potentially rolling over. There's a lot of different types of analysis that point to that. I'm going to touch on that in a quick second here. Now, the reality is we could potentially start to see a bear market take place in the U.S. equities. And that's going to send money looking for where a safe haven is. And typically, during a complacency stage and the initial decline of the stock market, that is when we see precious metals really start to come to life, and they can become one of the strongest asset classes moving forward. And so I think we're in this upper range. If we were to look at the risk using this here, we've got the point of maximum financial risk. If you were to take long-term investment capital and put it to work, in the stock market, potentially even the real estate market, I think you've got a lot of downside potential. There's very little upside left, but there's a lot of potential to the downside for a reevaluation event going forward. We got a lot of things coming together that are pointing to a bigger correction coming in the stock market, and precious metals could become one of the top assets to hold going forward. So let's take a look down at another angle of the markets. Let's take a look at the overall cycle. Now we've got this blue cycle here. This is the stock market cycle. And then we've got the yellow one, which is the economy, the economic cycle. And stocks tend to lead the economy. The stock market will bottom before the economy does. It'll also top out well before the economy tops out. And I think we're in this stage here, near the late stages of a bull market. We tend to see energy, precious metals come to life, and of course we have seen energy rocket higher. Energy stocks have been on fire, natural gas, crude hitting some very high levels as well. We've got precious metals just starting to come into favor, and the quarterly chart is really going to open your eyes as to where we are in the big picture of precious metals. Now I think energies have had most of their upside potential already. I think the next big phase, the big push in commodities, will probably be precious metals and potentially even agriculture going forward. What is also interesting is we've seen utilities hit all-time highs, and they are a late stage sector as well, telling us that the stock market is very close to, it may have topped already, but it's definitely in a late stage of this overall cycle. So taking that one step further, let's move over to where we are in the overall stock market cycle with gold and silver. Let's start off with gold. Here's the quarterly chart of gold. This goes back to 2000, 2001, where more or less gold put in a major bottom and then started a super cycle to the upside. And I did a video about this about 2 years ago, and we actually pointed out where we're at this turn. We should be at this turning point in 2022. We should see gold break out based on cycles, based on patterns, and that is exactly where we are right now. You can see we've got this bullish pattern, which is a correction, a multi-year consolidation, and then a rally up, and we are flagging sideways, which this can be seen as a cup and handle pattern. And that cup and handle pattern points to dramatically higher pricing. You've got this cup, you've got this handle, and we're just starting to break out and closing on a quarterly basis to the highest levels gold has seen. So this is pretty exciting. We are in a breakout for precious metals on gold to continue to start these big moves to the upside. Keep in mind, each bar here is 3 months, 1 quarter. So we've got a lot of upside potential going forward. And where we are right now in 2019 is where we started what I think is the next super cycle. And you can see how long this one lasted. So there's potential gold finally might get reevaluated to something more so what it could be potentially worth, which would be up in the $2,700 range, $3,500 range, somewhere up that level. Now, if we were to use simple technical analysis, I like to use Fibonacci extensions. I find them to be extremely accurate. we can take this measurement from the low to the high and down to this low. This is going to tell us the momentum that it had to the upside, how much momentum it's removed from the equation to the downside, and where those upside targets are next. And you can see it's somewhere up around $2,700 an ounce for gold. And typically when we get up to those levels, if it becomes a cycle high, we can see some of the biggest moves happen right at the end, and we can blow right past those levels. So there's some pretty exciting times coming over the next 1 to 3 years where gold could pick up speed. Maybe it takes a little bit longer than that. Maybe it happens a whole lot sooner. We just have to follow the charts one bar at a time. And the quarterly report here is a great way to get a view of where we are in gold starting to break out and how it's going to probably become a very strong asset. While people flock from the stock market, they're looking for somewhere to go. Physical metals is going to be one of those plays. Now, if we take a look at silver, silver's not quite up near the highs, but we have definitely had a similar type of run, huge move up. It's gone out of favor for several years, building a base, and now it's had a strong rally. It's flagging sideways. This is known as a bull flag pattern or a pennant formation. You've got the flagpole, and then you got the flagging in the opposite direction of the previous move. Previous move was up, so it's flagging down, and that usually points to higher prices going forward. And we can use Fibonacci extension to gauge from the low up to the high, down to this low, of where silver could go next. And you can see somewhere up around 39, which is up in these long upper wicks, these tweezer wicks, which are known as kind of a reversal sign, where price goes up and gets slammed with sellers, tries it again, gets slammed again, and usually that's a reversal sign. You don't want to really see tweezers unless they're on the lower end. Then that means you're going to reverse to the upside. But we're looking at some pretty good potential. Silver hasn't started to break out yet, but it's definitely flagging sideways in this pattern that could resolve to the upside in a very significant move going forward. And silver has one of those characteristics where it can delay and lag behind gold a little bit, and then suddenly out of nowhere have these massive green bars that it just plays catch up and dramatically outperforms gold. So I really believe you should have both gold and silver, and you never know which one is going to become the better move. Everyone, in my opinion, is loaded up on silver. And it's the way the market, I'm loaded up more so on silver than gold too, but the way the markets always move, it's always the one that you least expect. So we could see gold potentially become, a big shiner, but I do think silver is going to be very good going forward here. So anyways, that's kind of the big quarterly view, one bar at a time. We'll keep you updated as things unfold, but gold is breaking out. It's in a new bull market. It's definitely the leader. It's the one that at this point you want to own because it is leading the pack with all-time highs and breaking out to the upside. Anyways, I'm Christopher Mullen from thetechnicaltraders.com, and take care. Bye-bye.